Welcome to Three Dads One Podcast, the show that sounds like a cheap Star Wars droid when called 3D1P. I'm Daddy Tom, and with me I have Daddy Dan. Introduce yourself.
I am Daddy Dan. I have three girls, one of 5, one of 3, and one of 7 months. Currently working as an account manager for a company that goes out and does a lot of visiting, but not at the moment, all for the last year. So we're stuck in doing things like podcasts to keep ourselves entertained. With us also is Daddy Rob. Hey, hello, Daddy Rob.
Hello, Daddy Rob. I'm a new father. Yep, new father of a little boy, 4 months old. What do? I like to say that I build smart homes, but really I don't do very much. What am I doing at the moment? Still working, slaving away, remembering those beautiful days of being off for 10 weeks. And also we have Daddy Tom. Say hello, Daddy Tom.
Hello, everybody. I'm Daddy Tom. I have a 6-year-old stepdaughter. I work in IT, and to be honest, COVID's not really affected me because I've been sat in my office hiding. And that is our cast for this podcast. And that's the end of episode 1. Probably a good place to stop it.
See ya.
So, as you can see, we are 3 friends that have been around for goodness to how long. I mean, I met Dan when I was illegally working at the age of 15 at a garden centre, and I met Rob when he was illegally drinking in the Three Hammers pub.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I didn't know you guys met at the garden. I nearly said the name of it. The garden centre.
Oh, you could say Burston Rosen Garden Centre, where half of Chiswell Green's teenagers worked at some point in their life.
I did my work shadowing there, the fishery part of it.
That's basically what we did, but we got paid cash in hand. But I think it was £25 a day. Sound about right?
Yes, that was it. It was 25 a day, and then it got to a position where staff didn't turn up. So what they were saying, if you turn up 3 weeks in a row, we'll give you a £10 bonus.
That's right.
That's bad. I mean, but when you were getting £25 a day, I bet you were richer then than you ever are now.
Oh, yeah. It just used to get spent on crap, didn't it?
And I just remember as well getting the old, bring in your national insurance card when you get it, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh, yes. The pay slips were literally pieces of paper scribbled on money in a little brown envelope full of cash. That was it.
That sounds really dodgy.
But it wasn't a bad job, though. Had lots of fun there, to be honest. Things like the outdoor Olympics, where we would be throwing wooden kind of stakes at each other in javelin or jumping over compost piles. It wasn't a bad time.
No, and half the staff were nice. The other half were just arseholes.
Yeah, the old ones were arseholes.
You brought that kind of sorry to interrupt. You brought that same energy when we all walked in a pub together.
Oh dear. But yeah, we all did work in the Three Hammers at some point. In fact, no, we did all work at the same time, didn't we?
We did.
That's how I met you, TJ, was at the pub.
Yeah, you met me through the Three Hammers, and they were good old days. But as you can see, that was many, many years. Oh God, it was many years in the past, wasn't it? I mean, I was
a bit.
18, so that's what.
Don't embarrass yourself.
No. Don't do maths. Just walk on. Move on.
Head hurts.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, right, Rob, you came up with the title of this episode, so just so people that are listening know, we are going to choose a topic to discuss every month. I'm guessing we're going to be doing this podcast. Probably should have chatted about that before we started. Where we discuss things that, as dads, we have discovered that no one ever really told us about. So yeah, Rob, why don't you give us the title of the episode and also explain where this has come from?
Oh God, now you're asked. I wasn't prepared for being asked what the title of the episode was, even though I made it up. I'm now going through. I'm now slowly making my way through our WhatsApp chat. Other text messaging services are available.
Of course.
When did I write it?
Okay. Well, I'll give you a hint. It's to do with incest and elephants.
Sorry,
if people are wondering why this has got an explicit... there we go.
Incestuous elephants and Mr. Happy is a prick. Now, I'd just like to say, actually, I toned that down slightly because I wanted to say the C word. And when we were
I thought you did.
As soon as I saw that title, I thought that's not what he wants to say.
Yeah, Dan was like, I know what Rob means. When we were like, oh yeah, we're going to try not to swear, I was like, well, I really want to tell you how I feel about Mr. Happy after reading one of the Mr. Men books. I'll start there. I'll start on that one because that's what started me on the rampage of story time, which is now ruining story time for me because every book I pick up, I'm thinking, no, that wouldn't happen. No, that tiger is not coming to dinner. That tiger wants to eat you. So like, right, anyway. So the first book really that I'm got unhappy with it's the Mr. Men book about the most relatable Mr. Man, I think, out of all of them, Mr. Grumpy. So
yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Personal hero.
When I think about what Mr. Grumpy is, basically a Rob autobiography, this book.
Right.
Where,
Okay.
just bad things happen to an unhappy person, and that's not really true, I'm not happy. But and there's just arseholes around. So Mr. Happy is a fucking arsehole. So Mr. Grumpy, right? He just lives having a bad day. We all have bad days, don't we? Everyone just kind of, I woke up, shit day. Swearing again, sorry, shit day.
Oh,
And
don't worry.
he drops his like papers on the floor. He's like, I don't like reading books. He's just having a bad day. He's going in his garden. He's pulling weeds out. He's pulling out the flowers he doesn't like. And his neighbour just strolls into his garden, right, and just starts talking to him. And then Mr. Grumpy's like, he's in a bad mood. He's asking him to leave. For all we know, like, Mr. Happy's breached the 2-meter distance. I mean, they don't mention anything specifically about COVID's kind of procedures in this book because, it's not a 2 meter
yeah,
long.
of course. But Mr. Men could well be a modern day thing.
He's breached the 2-meter boundary. And basically, Mr. Grumpy asks him to leave. And rather than Mr. Happy just going, all right, mate, yeah, okay, you're unhappy, I'll go again. Mr. Grumpy storms off, accidentally stands on Mr. Happy's foot, right? Accidentally. So what would you do, right? Okay, scenario. I'm Dan, right?
Right.
You are going to be Mr. Happy in this scenario, and TJ, you are Mr.
Unlikely.
Grumpy, right? Right, it's unlikely. I probably should have got them the other way around.
Yeah, the other way around. But anyway, we go with it.
Okay, let's
go.
So who was Mr. Happy again? Dan, supposedly, right? That's why it's confusing. So Tom, you've missed. So Dan, you've just walked into TJ's garden, and yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I'm such a good mood. And you can see TJ's hungover, right? He's been out on the town, right, playing Minecraft till like God knows when with his daughter, and he's upset. He's tired. And as he stormed off, he's accidentally stepped on your foot, right?
Right, okay.
And what do you do? What does TJ do? So Dan, you've just stepped on TJ's foot because TJ's
So Mr. Happy stepped on mine.
Mr. Happy has
right.
stepped on Mr. Grumpy's foot. What did you do?
Okay, so is Mr. Happy going to be actually polite to me? Is he going to apologise, or does he just stamp on my foot?
What would you do? What do you think would happen? Dan, you're Mr. Happy.
To be honest, if I'm Mr. Grumpy and the world has called him Mr. Grumpy for a reason, I'd probably lump him.
There is that, isn't there? Yeah.
So you're saying Mr. Grumpy's reacting to standing on Mr. Happy's foot. So it's sorry, I might have explained.
He got in my way.
Okay, so Dan. Okay, so Dan.
Fuck you, Mr. Happy. Get out of my way.
Stop
trying to get in my way.
Oh,
that's how I feel about it.
It comes into role play, right?
Stop.
Okay, right. So Mr. Grumpy, Mr. Grumpy TJ, you've stood on Mr. Happy's foot, and your reaction, Mr. Grumpy, is to hit Mr. Happy. Okay, Mr. Happy. What do you do? What do you do? What's happening?
Mr. Happy?
Yeah, you're Mr. Happy, remember? You're not Dan. You're Mr. Happy. So this is a real stretch for you. You're Mr. Happy, okay?
You apologise. We're British. That's the first thing you do. Sorry. Even if he stepped on my foot, I'll probably end up apologising. It's just what we do, isn't it?
Well, that didn't happen. Okay, so I'll tell you what happened. Mr. Happy went to his mate, Mr. Tickle, and they spent the next 24 hours torturing Mr. Grumpy by following him around town and tickling him, so he dropped everything that he was buying. He went to the butcher's and he got tickled and he dropped all of his sausages on the floor. Where else did he go? I'm just quickly flicking through the
sorry,
book.
Mr. Happy. I agree with your original title. He is an absolute utter...
Yeah, exactly. He's a knobhead. I mean, As if, like, if someone stood on my foot, I then wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to get my own back on you. I'm going to spend the
I'm
next
sorry.
24 hours making your life a living hell, especially when
I
you're meant to
really
be called
wa-
Mr. Happy.
I really wish I had lumped him.
Yeah. And the thing is, right, it was all in an effort to make Mr. Grumpy not be grumpy anymore. So how would you make Mr. Grumpy not be grumpy anymore by just chasing him around and being an arsehole all the time?
Let's relate this to our children, seeing that's kind of one of the things we're meant to be doing. If my little girl upstairs was crying her eyes out or she was upset, tickling her will make her happy for all of about 5 seconds before she starts crying again because I'm tickling her.
Yeah, only if she likes being tickled.
That's true.
No.
Right?
Even if they do like being tickled, that only lasts a good couple of seconds before it's then that little bit too much. And it's like a cat and you're stroking its stomach.
Exactly.
There is absolutely no way of knowing when that switch is going to flick and suddenly it turns from crying with laughter to crying and wailing. They want their mummy because you've gone too far with the tickling.
Can I read you an excerpt from a particular passage in this book that I took umbrage to? So they've spent all day being horrible to Mr. Grumpy. Poor Mr. Grumpy. If I was a character in a book, I'm Mr. Grumpy. And so this is it. So he's just got all of his shopping home, right? That has all been dropped on the floor already. Probably all, it's like 10-second roll on the floor, wrecked. So here we go. If Tom Fletcher is listening, I will do the audiobook for your next book. So Mr. Happy looked at Mr. Grumpy lying amid a jumble of sausages and cake and newspapers and sweets and milk and cornflakes. I think, he laughed, that if you were to change your ways and be not quite so bad-tempered quite so often, this sort of thing might not happen to you quite so often. Now, is passive-aggressive or what?
God.
Like, he's like the thing is evil
we're led to
genius,
believe all these. We're led to believe all these things you hear. Oh, it's Mr. Happy, or it's all of their names. They're not actually names, right? They're character defects. Let's not lie about this. Mr. Happy is a defect because he has serious problems.
Yeah, I think a lot of them do, to be fair.
Another little insert, the same page, the last sentence of this page, Mr. Happy and Mr. Tickle laughed and shook hands. I rest my case. Mr. Happy is a fucking prick.
I absolutely agree.
On the table.
I am not disagreeing with that. He is a dick.
I've never read that book, and now I feel like I have to just to experience it firsthand. But I think we're all in agreement. I don't think there's any disagreements there whatsoever. The title, the second part of your title, completely agreed with. Any disagreements from you, Daddy Jam, Tom?
Daddy Jam. Daddy Jam.
Daddy Jam
is what got us into this problem to start with.
It was.
Yeah, look, that was the issue.
So the first part of the title, Rob, was...
Oh, the incestuous.
Oh, yes, incestuous elephants.
Okay.
Well, actually, before we go there, actually, did any of you have Mr. Men read to you as a child? Because I remember it on TV. I don't remember having the books, though. And it seems to me kind of... I rewatched the TV episodes ages ago, and they're not wonderful. They really aren't aging anywhere near something like the Raccoons, for example. But
no.
It seems that the books became trendy to read your kids again, so everyone suddenly got them again. I think
it's because of this whole box set thing that everybody got to, and the websites come up. You could buy the whole box set, so people have these fond memories of the Mr. Men, which in reality aren't that great. And then, I could get the whole collection of Mr. Men and Little Miss for my children. So they've done that, and they sit on bookshelves. I don't think they get read as much as they probably should, but I believe that's why they're all around so much.
Yeah, and to be fair, they probably are better to learn to read rather than being read to your children, I guess.
If you want them to learn to read with something that causes really bad behavioural traits.
Yeah, they were published in 1971. I just Wikipedia'd it. So, that kind of tells you about what was going on.
Wow.
Oh, right. And wasn't it just Mr. Yeah, Little Miss came afterwards, didn't it? So Little Miss didn't appear till 1981. So there were a whole 10 years of the Mr. Men before Little Miss came along.
Yeah, well, Equal Rights took a while, didn't it?
They don't get paid as much either. I bet they don't get as much of the money from the book sales as the Mr. Men do. It's a travesty, really.
Okay, so I think that pretty much covers the Mr. Happy is a prick. Rob, the other part of the title was something about incestuous elephants. What have you got to tell us there?
So I did text in the group chat a few days ago asking if anybody ever used to watch Babar. You used to watch Babar, Dan?
Yeah, well, I think everybody did, didn't it? There wasn't much on TV. How many channels did we have? Like 4 to start?
What do you really remember about it?
And
tell me what you remember about
it. He used to drive around in his car a lot. He had a big family, and they lorded it over everyone.
Pretty much, yeah.
What if I told you that he is a fake? His money is taken from a poor old widow. How would that make you feel? You believe any of that?
It sounds like he's
this is
got
children's books we're talking about.
So this is the story of Babar the Little Elephant. Now, I just want to say the word little, right, I think is the key word here, little, because they use that term to somebody else in this book and then forget they did. So I want to put that in there, that I think the word little should be struck from this book and it might make a bit more sense. But It's written by, I'm going to ruin the pronunciation, Jean de Brunoff. Is that right?
That's not bad.
I imagine he's French. I'm assuming that. Sorry, you're probably...
Yeah, no, I would say so, yeah.
I will say the artwork, which obviously this is a audio cast, so I can't show anybody that. It's actually really good.
We'll pop those up on the social media channels.
But the artwork also lends more to why I have umbrage to this book, because of some of the imagery in here, especially in the second. Oh my God, the second book. The imagery in the second book. It would not get
You're
published.
building this up so beautifully.
It would not be. It would be only sold on the Isle of Wight, Dan. The second book, if they kept those pictures in there, right? So
I've got
Dan knows what I'm talking about.
On that. I've got something to mention on that after, but that's
maybe that will be good for Tom to learn about later. So
nice. Okay.
Basically, I used to watch the program on TV. I was only a kid. I had no idea. Nice elephant king with his queen. He's got a son. I assumed that child was his son. It's not. Yeah, that was it. I would just like to say, by the way, it's not his son.
I always assumed it was because I always assumed it was him telling his son the stories of him growing up.
Well, that may be so. You might remember the names, but I don't remember the name of what his son was. But there is a small elephant in this, with implications that that's the son from the TV show.
So we've got some illegitimacy, have we? Excellent.
Right. So, a load of elephants doing what elephants do, right? Little baby Babar riding on his mum's back. This is page 6. He gets shot, right? The mum gets shot, like proper Bambi style, dead. Okay?
It does sound like something Disney would pick up.
So I'm just going to read you...
This is before Bambi. So did Bambi base itself on Babar?
So basically,
it was a full 11 years before.
Yeah, page 7. He killed Babar's mother is the first line. That's how they break the poacher. That's literally how the wording is. He killed Babar's mother. The monkey hid himself. The birds flew away. And Babar, I guess that is, okay, this isn't printed in Times New Roman. This is like handwritten print, like cursive. It's actually really difficult to read. It says, and Babar burst into tears. The hunter ran up to catch poor Babar. So the hunter has just killed his mum, and there's a picture of an elephant in utter tears. Anyway, Babar gets away, ends up in town. At the moment, right, there's no implication here that he's anything but a normal elephant, right? Can't talk, has to walk on 4 legs. It's any other.
Very true. Can I just I just want to stop you there 1 moment, Ron. I know you're mid-flow there, and I am going to have to use one of the stupid voices for this. But during kind of me researching this, I couldn't find our copies of the book, so I just dumped it into online and thought, I'm sure I can find this story online. And I found a webpage, again, I will put it up over on social media later, that has made the story even more horrific. So the bit you've just read is horrific enough. Now, let me put the voice on, and I'm going to read to you what someone has decided to add to the story.
The monkey cannot hide any further. The birds cannot fly away any harder. Babar cannot cry any longer. His mother died once. Babar cried once. Everything is even and accounted for.
That's how I internally read this. That was like what my brain was reading it as. In that voice.
I'm sorry,
as
I'm gone.
Right, while he's recovering.
Carry on.
So what's happened now? So Babar has run away, basically, from the poacher, and he's running to town. And he's just openly walking around town, right? No one is taking any notice that there's an elephant just strolling around town, that he's even talking to people asking for help, and they're ignoring him. But then he finds this old lady, right? She's got a little, I can see that she's got some little kind of ratty dog, Yorkshire Terrier thing. He's got a little red coat on, and she gives him a bit of money. So what does he go and do with that money? So he says thank you, obviously. He now goes to the shops, and he causes havoc in one of the shops, making the lift go up and down like constantly. So the bellboy Paul has to tell him to leave because he's just causing ruckus in this shop. And he gets a suit. Suddenly, this suit basically turns him into a gentleman, right? He's now walking around on two legs. I don't know how much money she gave him, but he's wearing spats. I mean,
it's Iron Man of the elephant world.
Yeah, he's got like a bowler hat and spats. Okay, and then he goes and gets a portrait done. I mean, it's just, I get it. It's a book, right? So now
it's 1931 as well, so we've got to remember as well, they didn't aim to put this into the future, so kind of the day-to-day life of 1931 may well have included, I'm going to get up and go and get my portrait done today.
Well, and
I doubt
1931
it,
in France as well. Just want to put that in there. So
true,
because elephants walk around Paris all the time. Don't they? Well, Paris is full of elephants. Well, he goes and meets up with the old widow again, and being a lovely old lady, she just wants some company. I feel like he massively takes advantage of her because he's now sleeping in her bed. He's doing some kind of Joe Wick style like hit workout with her in this picture. He's in a bath. He's bathing himself, and she buys him a car. So here we go. Every day he drove out in the car that the old lady had brought him. She gave him everything that he wanted. He's basically
he's a kept man.
Yeah, so it's not a sugar daddy. What's the opposite of a sugar daddy?
It's kept. He is kept.
What is the opposite of a sugar daddy? That is a good one.
Hang on. Opposite to sugar daddy. Thank you, Google. Or should I say Bing? A salt daddy, apparently.
A salt daddy. That's really weird.
Oh, no. Sorry, no, ignore me. That's... Good God, this exists. A salt daddy is a man who pretends to be a sugar daddy in order to take advantage of sugar babies. He has no intention of picking up the bill ever. He can neither afford nor offer a sugar baby any benefits.
Oh, so it's a pretend sugar daddy, but we're still looking for the opposite here, TJ.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, okay.
A sugar mummy? Is it just a sugar mummy?
That'd be too easy, surely.
How do we get one of them?
Well, you're married, so
mail order.
They come from Thailand.
Okay. Yeah, right, they're the ones that go. I think you're getting that wrong, mate. You don't buy a bride from Thailand for them to come and keep you with all their money.
Oh, it's just sugar mama.
Sugar mama.
It is boring then, right? Okay. Anyway,
sugar mama, MILF, honey mummy.
Honey mummy. Oh, I like that one. That's better.
Mummy, that's a good one. So we're halfway through the book now, and it's getting good now. This is when I started. This was the moment where I was like, no. And from this point, the other book and the other half of the third book, I can't get over it. And every time it's mentioned, I add my own little bit to it. So Theo is not going to know Babar and this other elephant as anything but this and live in pure knowledge of what this is, because I will not let him live in the ignorance that I did and you two have after I told you. So Babar is crying his eyes out, right? Because he misses his home with all the elephants who can't speak and walk on two legs. He's got everything he ever dreamed or wanted, but he's not happy because he misses his mother. So here we are. He's dreaming of his childhood, and when he thought,
Rob, that's a bit of an arsehole thing. He's missing his mother.
I know,
She has
I
just
did.
been
I know
shot,
that was
you
me.
bastard.
Sorry. Well, it happened a long time ago. He's been there for 2 years. This is 2 years later.
I do think you
and
still be able to
weeping
be
with it.
upset.
No, I 100% agree. I take that, but I was just kind of, going with the flow of it. But
well, can I check one thing? Because I haven't read these books. So, the hunter, was it a human?
Yeah.
And the old lady is a human?
Yeah.
And the town is full of humans?
I'm assuming this is France. I have no other reason to believe this isn't anywhere but
so
France.
The elephant escaped from wild Africa and walked into a French town?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just...
What are you not understanding here?
I'm going to channel my inner Mr. Grump here, or Mr. Grumpy here, or whatever his name was, and I'm going to say Babar should have trampled them all to death.
Well, I think there might be a little bit of that later. I haven't got to that part of the other book yet, but there might be.
Oh, okay.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So I want to just read this paragraph. I feel bad now about what I said about him crying about his mum. Made me feel bad. A paragraph here. So, if you know who one of these characters is, speak up and tell me who they are. So, 2 years passed by. One day he was out for a walk when he met 2 little elephants with no clothes on. Why, here are Arthur and Celeste, my 2 little cousins. He cried in amazement to the old lady. Who are those 2 little elephants? Now, they're his cousins, 2 little cousins. Little, there's that word I told you about in the title. Little.
Yep, you did.
And the new word, cousins.
And I think we can now get the idea of incestuous elephants. He marries one of them, doesn't he?
Let me just fast forward a few pages because they want you to forget the phrase little and all the drawings of these 2 elephants being little baby elephants.
And the key word there is, just let me fast forward a few pages, not years, pages.
Pages,
yeah.
Right. So, a few pages. Now, where are we? Is this the one I'm just going to quickly... what lovely clothes you've got there, Babar. Yes, brilliant. Where does it say
What a long
it?
trunk you have, Babar.
Here we go. So we've skipped over a few bits, but they're offering him to be the king at this point. And he says, before accepting the crown, I must tell you that on our journey in the car, Celeste and I got engaged to be married. I will be your king and she will be your queen. So in a car journey, right, on the way from Paris to his homeland, which he walked, by the way, when he was a baby, he's now engaged to his little cousin. Long live Queen Celeste, long live King Babar. So
yeah,
I'm
looking at the Wikipedia
this.
page now. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and it says about Celeste being his cousin. But then when you look at the relatives, Arthur, brother-in-law, no, he is still his cousin.
Wow.
He's calling it brother-in-law. Cousin.
Wikipedia is calling Arthur as brother-in-law. No, Arthur is your cousin still. That kind of trumps brother-in-law there, guys.
God.
Arthur, by the way, I think deserves an ASBO. I just like to...
well, he's the one that started the war. I do remember that one.
Yeah, we haven't got to that bit yet. That's in the other book.
Maybe, well, I just don't understand. Get from Paris to Africa by walking.
Yeah. I mean, they get married, they get engaged in a car journey. He's marrying his little cousin. But the reason he can become king is because of this little paragraph here. Alas, that very day, the king of the elephants had eaten a bad mushroom. It had poisoned him.
What sort of mushroom?
I can tell you that, Dan, because I'm guessing someone very sarcastic, has put on the Wikipedia page following the death of the king of the elephants who had eaten a toxic shiitake.
So hang on. Right, I'm just correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but a shiitake mushroom is Asian, right? It's a Chinese sort of. So that would be in Asia. The elephants
Highly
live
unlikely
in
to
Africa,
be in 1930 France.
and they're very hard. Yeah, exactly. But well, they just walk to Africa with a hunter. I've never heard of any wild hunters walking around France shooting elephants.
Mime artists, maybe.
Yeah. This is going to make me sound really stupid. I had to Google what a dromedary was.
You have to clarify that for me as well. A what?
Yeah, and me.
Dromedary.
Sorry.
A dromedary is a one-humped camel.
Well, I don't think that makes you
okay.
stupid. That's just that's pub quiz.
They had pictures of camels,
trivia.
and my wife and I were both like, camels have 2 humps. Why don't they just write camel? Why are they writing dromedary? And I had to look it up. Dromedary is a one-humped camel.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a lot of imagery in here I'm not particularly happy with. But basically, I really don't like that he's married his cousin. And every time it says Queen Celeste, I say to Theo, Queen Celeste, his cousin.
just re-emphasise.
And now, bearing in mind, I'm 2.5 books in.
You are opening yourself up to so much trouble in the future. Daddy, can I marry my cousin? You did tell me that story.
No, you can't. Because people won't know this, but Dan's children are Theo's cousins.
That's not happening. Right, so we've got... Yeah, you're right. I can't get my head around this. Yeah. Incestuous elephants, I think, is correct. I know royalty back in the day used to marry within the family to keep the royal line going, but if I'm correct by what you said, he got engaged to his cousin in a car from Paris to Africa. Little cousin in the car from Paris, driving all the way back to Africa, which is a very quick journey. And at that point, he wasn't even king. He wasn't royalty. He just decided, I want to marry my cousin.
Yeah, he fancied a little bit of that tail. It's just, yeah.
Paris must be used to it, seeing elephants, because no one, not it's an incest. Paris must be used to seeing animals just walking around on 2 legs, talking. Because later in the book, they, on their honeymoon, right, after they get attacked by, their words, not mine, savages.
Oh, right,
they, on the Isle of Wight, savages. They get captured and put into a circus. So,
excellent.
France must be the most forward-thinking country of whatever year this was, that they're like, equal rights for elephants. Because in some other country, they're still getting, stolen from the wild and put into...
Well, yeah, let's face it, Babar wouldn't still have his tusks.
No, he certainly wouldn't.
He definitely still has.
And as Babar cried over his mother, he had his tusk ripped out. The end.
Yeah, the end.
It's just
2 years later.
Jeez, that is
the old
horrible.
lady was playing
But then
the
again, you go for it, actually, Dan, and I'll bring up the last bit for me on my next bit.
Okay, so I'm just going to carry on from what Rob was saying about the savages in the Isle of Wight. What he's talking about there is gollywogs.
Okay.
That's basically, just quickly, that's basically what they've drawn as the savages in Babar.
So
it's awful. It's awful.
Can I just point out, gollywogs, though, was never a racist term. A gollywog was an artist and an author, had a doll, decided to write stories about the gollywogs. And it went from there. So it was never this racist thing. It was this image that was created by an author that was always about this doll. Stories were made and they went elsewhere. Now, where I wanted to go from there was into Noddy. Because Noddy...
Yeah.
Enid Blyton. So you got this Noddy, you got Toyland, and you've got, in the modern ones where the kids watch now, they've actually got rid of them, but they changed the character to goblins. Do you know why they changed the characters to goblins? Because the gollywogs were nasty little thieves that went around stealing things and being rather criminal.
Hold on. The gollywogs were in Noddy.
The gollywogs were in the original Noddies.
They
the
weren't
bad
just
guys.
on Marmalade or whatever they were on.
No, oh God, no, they took that from, the Marmalade, Robinson's Marmalade took the mascot from the original books about the gollywog because they went massive. And apparently back in the day, gollywog dolls were second only to teddy bears in coveted toys for children. It was not a racist thing. It was very much a character from a book, and it went from there because they never really copyrighted it. So Robinson took that as a mascot, and then obviously because they were a toy and Noddy lives in Toyland, the Gollywogs were in Toyland, but they were not the good characters you might remember. They were the thieves. They turned the Gollywogs into criminals, basically.
Well, I mean, you can understand why now they might want to get rid of that, though.
Yes, so they changed them to goblins in more recent Noddies, and now they got
I always
rid of
thought
this
they were goblins. I
antagonist.
just always thought they were goblins.
But no, Gollywogs, mate.
I'm sorry, Noddy is up there with one of my pet hates for kids' TV, which we will come on to one day. I cannot stand that Noddy CGI Channel 5 crap. It grates on me nearly as much as Bing the Bunny does.
Bing the Bunny's
you'll let one
acceptable.
watch Bing the Bunny?
Bing the Bunny's acceptable. Noddy Toyland Detective is real crap. It really is.
Noddy Toyland Detective. I'm just going to accuse everyone until I get it correct.
Yeah, pretty much. But time for another episode for that.
What's that game?
Absolutely.
What's that DS game where it's you're in a courtroom?
Phoenix Wright.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
It just reminded me of that, where he's like shouting out. Sorry, go on.
Can you tell me then
Go on.
about the Oompa Loompas? What can you tell me about Oompa Loompas?
Why? No, hold on. Why are we talking about this film?
Not a film, it's a book. I know you like the film.
Roald Dahl, yeah. And let's face it, the Johnny Depp film is absolutely decimated the whole story, and I hate it. And it's got to be the original film if you're going to watch a film.
Don't watch that film. He's petrified of it.
Don't watch that original film. No, don't subject your kids to torture of watching children get murdered by some freak who lives with a load of midgets. Sorry, it's just.
And ladies and gents, one day we will make Rob watch this live on YouTube.
No, you flipping won't. I used to. Oh God, we're going Welsh. I used to close my eyes when that girl turned purple and giant and got rolled down. Terrifying. Nice. And going through that tunnel, cheesy. That tunnel now scares me with the giant scorpions and
I don't know, but I don't like what's that tunnel up there. Hey, Wonka, I want off.
It's like something out of 1984 where they're kind of trying to brainwash people. Sorry, Ed Book. Right, go on. What's an Oompa Loompa? It's a midget. It's an orange midget.
Okay, so tell me, where did they come from? I
don't know. Oompa Loompa.
They came from a Oompaland or something, wasn't it?
Well,
no, another planet. Don't they do something? Say that in the film, don't they, about them being from another weird country? Like
they came from a country that had fallen or something.
Where all that horrible stuff in the tunnel is.
In the version that you're aware of, they are from Loompaland.
Yes, that was it, Loompaland.
Right, but do you remember how they came to be with Willy Wonka? Tell me about how they travelled.
I tell you,
he imported them because of their horrible life they had.
I'm
pretty sure it was something along those lines. He not rescued, imported.
Is this like a slave trade
in the book? They were shipped to England in large packing cases with holes in them.
No.
Yes. They changed. Oompa Loompas were never Oompa Loompas before.
What?
They were African pygmies.
Oh wow!
Is this straight out of the Babar book?
The original story and the original illustrations were little African pygmies, so they didn't come from Loompaland. They came from Africa, shipped in packing cases with holes in them to work in a factory.
So, have you read this to the girls?
I have not read this to the girls, no.
Right, okay.
I don't think that's it. But that's just that was obviously censored and changed for reasons a bit like the
I'm pretty glad that
the
one's been
Gollywogs.
censored.
But it's just to show how classic literature has been changed for children over the years.
That is.
I agree with that.
Awful.
One. Whoever was in charge of the censorship of Willy Wonka, I quite like this person.
But this is Roald Dahl, and don't forget some of the other stuff he wrote. I mean, it's worse than Disney. Parents die, step parents are horrible. The witches, for example, let's just turn them all into mice and try and kill them.
Roald Dahl is brilliant.
He's brilliant, but he's also for children's stories.
What was that book I told you about, TJ? The horrible stories, the horrible rhymes book.
Revolting Rhymes.
It's so good. I've read that like 3 times to him already. He's going to grow up warped. It's like.
Can I just point out as well? Although no matter how twisted Roald Dahl was, there's a few things. Did you know that he was heavily involved in the creation of something called the Wade-Dahl-Till valve, which is the basically an artificial heart valve that he helped create?
Really?
No,
As you do.
The
Yeah,
guy who
his
wrote about Red
son-
Riding Hood killing the wolf and wearing her skin also made heart valves.
He did a lot. His son was, well, that's creepy. Dahl's son Theo developed hydrocephalus after being struck by a taxi cab.
Okay.
But
what did he do after they got struck by a taxi cab? What did he do to the taxi cab to get syphilis?
No, not syphilis. Hydrocephalus.
It's like that documentary, that automobile documentary, Autofile or whatever it's called.
I know taxis can be dirty, but they're not carrying around a big dose of syphilis on the front of them.
That's a really bad mishearing there. So what, we got hit by a taxi and got syphilis, right? Okay.
So they call, oh geez, so hydrocephalus, and but he invented a lot of things with other engineers, and he was an incredible bloke. An absolutely incredible bloke.
He was a product of the time. That's all it was.
Hasn't it come out?
Yeah, what he created.
Supposedly he's done something horrible. Or didn't he say something nice about the Nazis or something? Am I right in saying that? Something come out like literally a month ago that he had said on 2 interviews. It was okay. I'm going to butcher it.
Anti-Semitism, apparently.
That's it. Yeah, some anti-Semitism. So he was like, yeah, not nice. Anyway, that's ruined Roald Dahl for you. Sorry about
that. But
so
he was
these slightly racist and he was anti-Semitic. But fine, apart from that, he did some good stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, TJ, dear. That's him ruined
Dobby Downer. Dobby Downer,
right,
that, mate.
I'm going to ruin some nursery books for you now, unless you've got another one, Dan.
No, I was going to go on to nursery rhymes myself. So you go, you start.
So, not nursery rhymes. So, what we bought my little girl last birthday, so last January, was we bought her the collection of Ladybird fairy tales on CD, and she loves going to sleep with one story a night. So we put the CD on, we sit with her, she listens to it, and she loves it. And she's had these stories on repeat at nauseum. And one of the standout ones for me was Pinocchio. Now, what can you tell me about What can you tell me about Pinocchio? Do you though?
I
Dan?
don't know.
Do you?
I
so
only know
most
Disney
people's
Pinocchio.
memory, exactly. Most people remember Pinocchio from Disney. So Happy Jiminy Cricket, Pinocchio,
Lying Little Toe Rag,
Jiminy Cricket that was murdered by Pinocchio in the first book or whatever it was. It was very soon.
Yeah, so basically, Pinocchio by Disney isn't an ideal child still. He is a little shit. Let's not forget this. But he's given redeeming features and lots of things. Now, we've read both versions here. So there's a Ladybird version, and then there's the original 1881 version. So here's a little excerpt from the non-Ladybird book, I should say. With a last weak crit, 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 the poor cricket fell from the wall, dead. And why did he die? Well, that's because Pinocchio slammed Jiminy Cricket with a hammer in anger.
Yeah.
And then later on in the book, he tells Geppetto, and these are his words here, it was his own fault. I didn't want to kill him.
Yes. In this version, a random carpenter or a bloke, I don't know if it's a carpenter actually, he found a log of talking wood and took it to his mate.
Wood. His neighbour threw it out because he tried to carve that piece of wood and it screamed.
Yes, Geppetto got it and decided, I'll make this into a boy. Not in the Disney version, I'm really lonely old man, I'd like a child, let's make something and magic will make it happen. No, this is a talking log.
Geppetto is on magic mushrooms. That's what we're going
So that happens. Other lovely moments from the 1881 version is Pinocchio falls asleep next to the fire and burns his feet off.
God.
Happy story for children there. And this happens in both stories now. So in the Ladybird and this version, Geppetto gets jailed because the people of his village believe he is abusing Pinocchio and don't love him enough.
Right, okay.
What kind of
don't worry.
abuse here?
But don't worry, he's released
Everyone
after
gets
one
splinters.
day. Oh,
Lie for
so
me, lie
Geppetto
for
gets
me.
jailed. He gets he gets jailed for 1 day for that. Okay, remember
One
that
day
one
for-
day for apparent abuse to a child.
Doesn't Pinocchio get put in prison for like months?
Isn't it?
He
Is this
gets
before or after
jailed
he
for-
becomes a real boy?
Oh, this is all. Oh no, he never becomes a real boy in these stories until the very end.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, in the Ladybird and the original book, yeah, Pinocchio goes to jail for 4 months for committing acts of foolishness. 4 months he serves.
Yeah, damn right. He's a
And-
little liar.
Well,
Only given him 4 years.
He is this big lying absolute shit. But the final thing, and this is the worst bit. You say about marrying your cousin's bad, Dan, Rob. The end of the original 1881 book is that people fear him and hate him so much they hang him from a tree. They hang him.
I mean, that's probably not the right way to kill a wooden child.
No. He's a boy at this point. They hang him and they say, "We're going to come back tomorrow when your mouth is open and the gold coins under your tongue. We can get them."
There's nothing wrong with that. It's a way to get gold, isn't it?
It's what the. But yeah, the Ladybird one doesn't have him die. They have him, good old Geppetto getting stuck in the whale and all of that rubbish.
By the way, I'd like someone to clip what I just said and use it as their text tone of me basically saying, "That's not how you kill a wooden child." I'd like that to be someone's text tone.
I might have to put that as your WhatsApp message, mate. That's what I'll do.
Oh my God, right.
All of these fairy tales. All these fairy tales, though, you read them to your children, and yeah, obviously there's kind of the nicely kind of child-friendly versions now, but you read the old Ladybird ones. Hansel and Gretel is still the stepmother. Basically says, "Yeah, we can't feed them.
Exactly.
I don't like them, so we're just going to take them out to the woods and let them die." Not just we'll kill them. We'll kill them really quickly, so it's not kind of horrendous and traumatic for them. No, we'll leave them in the woods to starve to death and be pecked to death by birds.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. And then the first time they use pebbles, find their way back, then they throw them out with some breadcrumbs, and the birds eat the breadcrumbs. Then they find the witch. But it's that beginning bit. It's that beginning bit where they decide we can't afford to, because it's during a famine. So let's just put the kids in the wood and let them get lost, because that's less guilt.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I like how the dad as well is just like, "But I love the children. I don't really want to do this." Then why are you doing it?
Yeah.
It's these old nursery tales. We read them to children, but really, when you read the originals, or when you get things like the Ladybird collection, which are damn near to the original, we're gonna have some very traumatized children.
I mean,
so
my wife, one of the first
my
wife was
My wife.
The story in particular that she was read to from her old man was the Yongi Bongi Bow. I didn't prepare to mention this. I just kind of, as we were talking about these old stories, it made me think of it. It's
Right.
It was really difficult to read. I mean, the poetry is fantastic. Edward Lear is a fantastic writer, but there's just something about this. So it's about a weird little creature, a little man, and his name is the Yongi Bongi Bow. And which I wind Miranda up because I call him the Oogie Boogie Boo, and that annoys her. And that's what I say to Theo. I was like, "Do you want to listen to the Oogie Boogie Boo?" She's like, "Yongi Bongi Boo." And it's basically he travels around in. I'm trying to remember it, like a just like a bowl in the ocean, like a washing basket, like a washing bowl in the ocean. And he meets this. He's lonely, and he meets this woman. And he says, "I want you to be my wife." And she says no, because she's already got a guy waiting for her on another island. So he leaves. And the last 2 verses are basically him being upset that she said no, but moving on, and her deeply, deeply regretting her decision and longing for the Yongi Bongi Bow to come back. And when I was reading this,
it and
you read it quick. It's like 7 or 8 verses.
Yeah.
You can read that. But he, and Miranda's like, oh, I don't really remember it being like this. And like, kind of warps your. I think it's one of those things where I think that I could read basically anything to Theo, and because he won't really understand at the moment, he's 4 months old, and so he's not going to understand anything I'm saying other than the fact that he knows it's my voice talking to him and he likes it. So he's just going to get a good kind of sense, feel good feelings about it. And as he gets older, it wouldn't really matter what I've read to him. He'll latch on to this thing like Miranda has of the Yongi Bongi Bo. And I'm sure there are some people who think the Babar book is the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And they'll read it to their kids and go, oh my God, he married his cousin.
You're right. And there's okay, so a little bit of advice, Rob. Have you bought the Mog books yet?
Oh God,
no.
Or do you know who Mog is?
The cat.
Yes, Mog.
Yeah,
is
the cat and the witch.
And
I know that. I used to have.
Oh no! You're thinking of Mog and
Mog and Meg. Mega Mog.
Yeah,
Mog
I'm thinking of Mega Mog. Yeah.
There was a story series of Mog the cat, and Sainsbury's did a Christmas advert on it about 6 years ago, where Mog saves Christmas. And he's this lovely tabby cat who likes eating eggs. Whatever you do, never read your child the final book of Mog, because the writer kills her. Yeah, what? It's the death of Mog.
He's dead and he's walking around the house and nobody can see him. And he doesn't understand why nobody's paying attention to him, because he's a ghost.
Yeah. And this is where I disagree with my gem upstairs. She thinks it's a great way because it introduces death, it introduces the loss of a pet. And yeah, kids need to understand that. But Jesus, not Mog. Not after some beautiful stories where you fall in love with this cat.
Mog's mate.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a difference between introducing children to pets and a death of a pet, which is very important, like your wife says, but making them think that the pet is walking around your house as a ghost, getting upset that they can't get any attention.
Do you know another important book that you might need?
How the Body Works. As you say, book. That taught me a lot.
Oh, they are good books.
They're good books.
But no. As Dan said, it's very important. Sometimes you have a book that explains things, and if you go onto Amazon right now, you can purchase for a few pounds the book titled "The Night Dad Went to Jail."
Okay.
A book that
the night Dad went to get cigarettes.
The night Daddy left you. But yeah, it's basically a book of these cute rabbits, and this little child rabbit sees their daddy get arrested and now needs to know why his dad's gone to jail and what's going to happen to him in jail. Now, there's no dropping the soap scenes. There's nothing like that, but it's still beautifully brutal.
The night you weren't good enough for your father. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a recommendation. I do have a recommendation.
Go on. Yeah. Okay. No, sensible.
I was going to say this anyway, but Miranda did say to me, "You can't just slag stuff off. You've got to got to actually give people some advice. If there's some blokes here, I will have some advice on some of the other subjects, or more than my experiences of some things, and." I think there's a massive. These are the teaser. I think there's a massive conspiracy, TJ. Right, you won't be part of this, between people who have got kids and they don't tell other people stuff. They're not privy to it. So I think that at some point, when you've had kids, the government come round, like the FBI, and they make you sign documents that tell you not to tell new parents anything, because if they did tell you, you wouldn't have kids. So there's a teaser.
I think it's kind of because we've been through it and we want to watch the carnage without any spoilers, because it's so much more fun.
Misery loves company. Is that the phrase?
I mean, before you had Theo, Rob, I think I told you, and Emma told you lots of things about kids not sleeping, not getting any sleep. We tell you lots of horrific things. You choose not to listen.
Doesn't mean anything when someone just casually... Anyway, we're getting way off topic. We can argue about this and another subject.
Dan is right. As soon as that baby comes out, and bear in mind, I don't know this. I've only got a stepdaughter, so I've not gone through the whole... sleepless nights and everything like that. You never know what the future holds, but I haven't gone through that. But I think as soon as you've got that new child, everything you've been told just goes out the window and you just don't believe it anymore.
Yep. Changes you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that is another episode right there. We're on books, right?
Right. Okay.
But okay. So recommendation for a book then, Rob?
Yeah. So it's called Hush Now Banshee. Hush Now Banshee.
Okay.
By Carl
Okay, you've
Sullivan
told me about this.
Jackson.
This is yeah.
This is fantastic book, TJ. Right? It's a series of books. There's 5 of them. Hazy Dell Press. They're those those kind of solid cardboard books.
Yeah.
Have a look. Have a quick Google on Amazon. You'll see an excerpt of it rather. They're basically all monster books. There's one called something like Don't Eat Me Chupacabra or something, and it's all about a chupacabra who's going around trying to eat a goat, and the goat is trying to give them something else other than itself. But what's really good about that book is it says everything in English, and then it's all in Spanish as well. So you can read the entire book in English and then also read the entire book in Spanish.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is actually really cool. And then there's, what's the other one? Monster ABC, where it's basically a poetry book going ABC or up to Z. And it's a different monster in each page with a little, kind of a little part of the rhyme. That's really good. But this one, it's a counting book of a banshee going around trying to talk to all of her friends in the forest. And because she's a banshee, she has to shout. So obviously I role play when I'm reading the book, and it's a bedtime book, and I'm not very popular when I read this bedtime book because I shout. Especially when you come to the last page where you have to go really, really quiet, really, really quiet, really, really quiet, and then do a massive shout at the end.
Boom, happy days.
Again, spoilers, you're terrible with these spoilers, mate.
Actually, quick question
How many
for
little
both of
children
you.
can listen to this? Yeah, go on.
How many of the stories do you read that you now have voices that you regret doing because you have to do it in that voice every time?
Theo doesn't understand it yet. Yeah, Theo
we have a whole series of books called The Little Princess, and I have to read them in exactly the same way every time.
I hate that TV show.
I hate the show, but we've got the books, and she hates the show as well, which is brilliant because she hates the show because it's not my voice winning.
Has my old man Dan told you about that with Goofy and me? So my old man didn't always use stories, but I had loads of cuddly toys, and he would put voices on all the cuddly toys. And I had a Goofy, and he gave Goofy a gangster Cockney accent, right? I'll try and do an impression. He's like, all right, mate, Goofy, right? So that was my dad's voice for Goofy. We went to Disneyland, and Goofy spoke to me, and apparently I ran off upset because it wasn't Goofy's voice.
That's brilliant.
It's like, that's not what Goofy sounds like. You're not Goofy.
That's brilliant, but there's something about doing the old gangster voice, and I don't know if it's just because it's vaguely easy to do, but we've got one of those ducks in the bath that tell you the temperature, and from about the age of 3, when down a bath in Casey, I'll make duck talk. So you, all right, I'm Duck. How are you? And that's what it's lived as now. Jem just sat there scratching her head. So why have you made Duck a gangster? Why have you made him a character from EastEnders? I don't know.
It's
just
the
one of
voice.
those
I just
voices.
did.
Yeah, it's the voice I project. Theo has. So whenever before lockdown and all the stuff, and I would have Theo, and my dad would be speaking to him, I would respond as Theo, and it would be the Cockney gangster voice.
Nice.
And my dad was always like, he doesn't sound like that. Of course he does. How would you know?
Right, so I'm bearing in mind, even with the editing, we're probably hitting the 1 hour mark now, gentlemen. So, Dan, have you got any recommendations for books before we go?
For kids, I think anything by Julia Donaldson. They're very, very good. But I have to throw out here and say Tom Fletcher his books are brilliant. I enjoy reading them. So
no, damn right.
All of the dinosaur pooped books, I'd recommend them day by day. I love them. I really do.
Okay, and for those of you that have got slightly older kids, although the young kids will enjoy this as well, but if you've got a kid that's just kind of learning to read, we found a series of books called Nosy Crow, which is brilliant. Basically, you get the book. They're just little kind of stories about giants and fairies and stuff like that, but inside them they've got a QR code, scan it with your phone, and it's a read-along. So every time you hear it go ping, you turn the page, and they can follow it along in the book as they listen to it being read out. It's really, really nice little series of books, those.
Nice.
But yeah, that is the end of the episode. Now, we're not going to tell you what episode 2 is going to be about because, to be honest, we haven't got a clue. We haven't thought that far ahead. We don't even know when the next episode will be coming out. And we'll make that decision and we'll let you know. But if you want to get in contact with us, you can email us 3dads1podcast, and that is all words, no numbers. That's 3dads1podcast at outlook.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and all the other popular services. If you want to leave us a voicemail with your recommendations or anything you want us to talk about, head over to, and this is numbers and letters this time, 3d1p.co.uk. It will be in the description below, and that will take you to our podcast service where you can leave us a message. And finally, you can find us on Twitter with @3dads1pod, again, no numbers. And if you're not confused by that, it's all in the description below.
Yeah, bloody hell. I mean, I wasn't really listening. I was too busy texting my cousins. But
Are you going to marry her?
That sounded like a lot of stuff.
Oh, well done. Okay, so I've been Daddy Tom. This has been Daddy Dan and Daddy Rob.
Yeah.
I guess we should all say goodbye.